Welcome to Mager's Perspective. This piece is going to be a small bottle, or simply a neck cylinder. As with the previous pieces, this will start with one small bubble, and then that bubble will be gathered on. Going to the marver and rolling out a small cylinder. And popping a bulb. Then once at the bench, making sure that it has some thickness in the bottom and then is nice and blown out at the pipe end. Now just waiting for it to cool down so I can gather on it.
There's a few in there. They're kind of funky tasting. I never had them, but I've seen them. They're expensive, but I was like, I want to see what they're like. Try one. Mango chainsaw. Had me a chainsaw.
I go into the furnace at a steep angle and slowly rotating and dipping deep enough to cover the moil, and slowly coming out and going over to the pipe cooler. Once at the bench,
Look at this
I block the
giant.
whole piece and then give it to JW to put a good soak heat on it. Once back, I give it another block, a little bit of air, and then a bit more heat. You can see there's probably 3/4 bubble and then the thickness on the end. Having JW blow it out a little bit more, and then going into heat before I marver it. Giving it a puff, and then starting at the tip or a steep angle, and then gradually coming down to form a nice shoulder. Essentially, it's thicker on the bottom and nice and blown out right at the pipe. heating the whole piece, coming out, and then using my newspaper
Blow.
while JW is blowing. And I'm
Stop.
mainly cradling the bottom 3/4 of the piece. I want to keep that top quarter nice and hot, as that is where I will put the neck at. You can see that I'm at a slight angle on the glory hole. Holding it up, enabling me to get it a little bit hotter. And then coming out and swinging it down and letting it hang.
Stop.
Blow up a bit, then about 2 inches
Blow.
into the piece, slowly squeeze the blades of the jacks together and gradually pull at the same time. I'm having JW blow.
Blow harder.
By pulling and having that slight angle, I'm allowed to have my hand over the whole moil or neck, which is not as hot as the main bubble, along with supporting the shoulder. Now I'm back making the jack line where it will break off. Pulling the neck out a little bit more and back towards the jack line.
Yeah.
And in for a heat. So right now I basically have a longer neck and a sphere. Now I'm heating to further stretch that main sphere. That's the body of the piece. At the same time, I'll drop out the neck a little bit more too. Heating it up and holding it up. Letting the whole thing stretch. And then grabbing the newspaper and going from the shoulder and then papering down to the bottom. It currently has a slight taper to it. Essentially, I treat pieces with necks just like if the pipes weren't a little longer. So I heat up the whole thing, flash it, heat it up again, stretch it out, go on to make sure that the neck and the shoulder are straight, and once that's done, you can see it inflate right there. After a good flash, I'm just focusing in on the body of the piece. Up again in the glory hole to help let it drop out, come out, and give it a little bit of a swing. Again, jack blades come down first in the colder shoulder, and then the bottom and the rest of the body meets that angle. For this bottle, the bottom is going to be slightly wider than the shoulder. Same sort of thing, jacks on the side, and JW blows, and essentially the piece meets the angle of my jacks. Now I'm focusing most of the heat on the bottom. Deep flash before I come out. A little bit of extra heat on the bottom area. And I grab the paddle and start pushing in the bottom just a little bit. And then grab the jacks to refine.
Stop.
Now I'll still put on the blow hose to make the bottom crispy, but I find a move like that really helps in setting up this next move.
You got a bit of a taper to the
So my blow hose is on outside of the pipe.
Okay, just making sure.
I think that always looks better than a straight.
So when I flash and come back to the bench, it'll be on the inside the way that I swing the pipe.
It's a 3D or 360. It's all around.
Deep flash,
It records
jacks
all
on the
of
side,
take care of it
some
and
air pressure, and then JW on the bottom. But again, he's not riding right up against my jacks. He's just a little lower.
you make the bottom concave, so
Give it a quick flash. It looks like I want to be a little bit crisper. So I'll go back in, heat the bottom just a bit more.
kick. Usually Thursdays are usually Thursday afternoon. That's when she and I usually work. Sometimes Wednesday and Thursday, and then she usually has Saturdays whenever we don't have classes.
Deep flash, and back to the bench, and jacks on the side, paddle on the bottom, and a light bit of air pressure.
Good, huh?
Bottom looks good. I take my paddle and give it a slight kick. Sometimes on a longer thing, I'll flash before I take off my hose. Flash again, and I'll mark the bottom. Then torching the neck, the jack line, and a little bit in the moil. Last flash before punting. JW is ready with the punting. I lean out, find the center mark, and take my tweezers, put it on, and then at a slight angle with my tweezers, ride one blade on the underside and one blade on the top side. It looks good, so I switch tweezers and put my water on the neckline. And bonk. I've grabbed my paddle to straighten the piece. So I just ride the neck to see where the wiggle to the high side is. There, lift up and gradually bring down. Go for another. It's still wiggly. Lift up, bring down, and go. So this looks like I'm going to go from the bottom instead, so I can probably test it more. I'm going to have to go back and flash. Just go in for a nice deep flash, get it really moving on the punty. Take my paddle, find that high side, stop, and flip, and then push. There, it's starting to look a little bit better. That net looks good, everything rolled smooth there. That seems to be what we're looking for. So now a deep flash and heating up that very top of the neck. For this piece, everything below the neck is done. When I Sophie, maybe a bit of the shoulder will pop out, but that's okay. Flash, grab my tweezers, and pull out that neck. Grab my shears and just feed the glass right into them. So the neck is a little bit big for the body, so I'm going to trim it a couple of times. You could do the jack where you flip kind of the lip. JW would come in with a paddle and I pull against the paddle as I demonstrated with the bottle of the sear. But for this one, I tweeze and then I jack down into what I tweezed and use that as the anchor. So without necessarily really pulling, I just kind of tweeze around the whole thing. And then I jack down into the fresh glass. Come back, pull a little bit more, jack into the fresh to establish, and then to really chill that line, go on the inside. Give it a good torch, let that top area cool off a bit, and go around with the diamonds. If it doesn't come off on the first or second bonk, go back in for a flash. A lot of people like to have somebody bonk it off with a tweezer. I work with different people, and I've found that the person who's going to bonk it off the most consistently, the same way as myself. But typically, I do it. Jack on the inside, jack on the outside. It doesn't go, so then I go to the rail. The rail will stop the vibration, and therefore the vibration will stop right on that jack line and not travel down to the punt.
Give me a flash while you fiddle, or
The bonk, and there it is. It came off.
Is it blue? The light blue?
yeah.
Sometimes glass is more of an ordeal than it should be.
That's like 17 minutes is good.
So I'm flashing and just heating up that top little area that I want to open.
Yeah, 19.
Looks like there's just a little protrusion, so I'll go in and cut that.
No, the problem is there's like about 17 minutes that little camera generates so much heat on its own.
So the jack blade's on the inside. JW comes right on, straighten up the neck a little bit with jacks. So I use the paper. I'm trying to find and make sure that it's relatively straight to the body. The neck still isn't exactly what I'm going for. So I decide I'm going to trim it one more time. So after my flash, coming out, tweezing the neck again, and giving it a shear. So that's the third time and two different methods for this piece. Kind of ridiculous, but sometimes that's just the way it goes. Good flash, and make sure that neck, the opening is nice and straight where I just trimmed it.
Do a little pop. I don't think it'll do shit, but
Now I'm going to have JW Sophie put a little more volume into the neck, pooch the shoulder out a bit. Back in, out the reheat, and taking the paddle, making sure the body and the neck are relatively straight within each other. Now I'm going to heat up the neck and a little into the shoulder. Deep flash. Take my jacks, go into the neck and lift open and widen that neck a little bit more. And jacks on the outside, make sure that it's nice and straight. It looks decent enough, so torching the bottom, and now I'll flash down the piece. Last flash. A drop of water on the connection. JW grabs and a bonk. Just torching off the edge sharpness of the punty. And there's a little bottle, or a small neck cylinder. You can kind of see At one point, I basically had a round bottle, but by dropping it out, that led to the more traditional bottle shape. So there you can see the two. There's a small bottle next to the sphere with a neck. Thanks for watching Maker's Perspective. Cheers.